Very good afternoon, good morning. Welcome to the daily online webinar with myself, Giles Coughlin. Hope you're doing well. So, what we've got today is there's a few moving parts. So, the reconciliation bill is still going through in the US. It's got a pass from the Senate back to the House of Representatives. It's sort of 20 plus hours into the bond markets aren't particularly moving on it. So, it's not like a big worry at the moment. So, markets sort of looking through that. Trump hopes to get it done by the 4th of July. We'll see whether that's possible or not. What we have got that's more relevant to us, at 2:30 we've got Powell speaking, Lagarde speaking, Bailey speaking, and Ueda speaking. So it is a multiple central bank menu that we've got coming up just in half an hour alongside the open. So tricky timing for us. We've also got the ISM and JOLTS jobs data coming up at 3. Now, that's going to be a big focus today, potentially. Remember, JOLTS jobs, the Fed's twin mandate, stable prices and maximum employment. Inflation's going down, and we've seen short-term interest rate markets are now seeing the Fed cutting in September. And we've seen further dollar downside this week on the basically that pricing of more Fed cuts coming. What we're looking for, hey Lawrence, is if we see this print come in very weak. So if the jobs comes in below 7.1, and if we see prices paid coming in below 67.5, and the PMI data coming in below 48, we look for dollar downside, upside in the E-mini. So we're definitely watching out for that. And that could move markets. That's coming up at 3 o'clock. We've also got Powell speaking at 2:30. The latest comments from Powell are kind of very neutral with a slightly dovish tilt. We know Waller, we know Bowman have made a case for a July rate cut, but we also know both of those are up for a potential nomination to be the next Fed chair. And of course, we know what President Trump wants. He wants rate cuts. So it's probably not a surprise that Waller and Bowman are both, advocating vocally for earlier rate cuts. Make of that what you will, but it's certainly something to note. We'll look at this data nearer the time, but quickly you can see JOLTS jobs is gently weakening. What we want to see here is a deeper dip. So if it comes in below 7.1, right, it's showing that the labour market is weakening. That means the Fed is more likely to cut interest rates. That lifts equities. Also with the new order.
Comments here from the White House chair of the NEC, Moran, says on trade talks with EU, says we are in crunch time.
Yeah, okay.
Rather, that's the chair of the CEA, Moran, says he is optimistic about trade deal with the EU.
We've got new orders. If they drop down, and then look at this prices paid element, we want to see if new orders drop and prices paid drop, then that's more dollar weakness, E-mini upside. We could see a bit of a dollar bounce today if the JOLTS jobs comes above 7.5, and if we see prices paid coming in above 70, and we see the PMI coming in above 50.2, then we could see equity markets drop and the dollar strengthen. So watch out for that, because it means the Fed is less likely to need to cut interest rates, particularly if the labour market is strong and there's no urgency for the Fed to cut rates, and they can just focus on nailing inflation, which obviously is their primary job, right? Stable prices, maximum employment. Now, in terms of the E-mini, if you just take a look at the way stocks have been moving, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, bit of a weakening. We haven't been able to make higher highs, right? But we yet made higher lows. If you look at the T-time price opportunity, we can see that we're just sort of weakening up here. Yesterday, we tried to push out the value area high, failed. We tried to push under the value area low, failed. Today, we're trying to open underneath this value area low from Monday. Okay, so a little bit of weakness, but the broader trend is still in place. So it's a bit, 50-50. Let's be led by the order flow. You could see this becoming a top and then dropping, or you could easily see a base and moving back up here and retesting that 6200. Standard deviations, they're not here for a while. You've got to go to, I think, 6. Let's have a look at the volatility. You've got to go, here it is. You've got to go to 6327 or 6180. So 6327 is probably the nearest, and that's right up at these highs. So we've got a long way to go until we hit a standard deviation. If you look at it on the daily chart, you can see that buyers have trapped sellers. So you'd expect buying at that level. Looking on the hourly chart, you can see that delta is negative from the start of the European session. From the start of the Asian session overnight. And you can see that price has just tested this value area high from last week. So we had test yesterday, bounce, test today, got a little bit of a bounce. And just notice that yes, buyers have trapped those sellers, but we are in a big support area. And price has been sort of generally tracking lower, finds strong support around the 6220 region. Looking at the 15-minute, we can see that price is trying to push higher and break above these sellers that are trapped here. So a break above that area does open up the potential for a move back up towards the VWAP. So that's definitely something to be looking out for. I'm going to keep an eye on this. That's not unreasonable. If you see, we've got anything on the 5-minute, that's almost getting into before. You can see here sellers there and buyers trying to trap those sellers. So that would just mean for me that would be a nice buy area around the open. And particularly if we see buyers trap those sellers, then I would be happy to buy from 6231 before the open and then 6236 at the open. So that's what I'll be looking for. We'll come back to that just before the open, but do notice that the delta is negative, but is now trying to turn positive on the day. So you can see it's ticking up and it's trying to make a move up towards the upside. We can see this area here, these sellers are getting trapped. There was a little move, I took a little trade before earlier when you could see here these sellers, right, trap these buyers here. And then we hit the value area, but as we returned up to that standard deviation, I was looking to short from that standard deviation. I just missed it by, a quarter of a tick or something. And then I just took a very straightforward short on the tick chart, just moving down to that second standard deviation, which was the obvious target. So, and you can see here on the 5-minute chart, buyers have come in and trapped those sellers. So price is trying to grind higher here. What we'll be looking for at the 15, get a 15-minute close, and then we'll have those sellers trapped there. So it wouldn't be unreasonable to then look for a bounce, the 6236 into and at the open. Okay, so 6236, if we get these buyers trap those sellers before the open, I would take a buy from 6232. So here's the sellers, they're getting trapped, buyers trapping them. So anywhere here becomes strong support as long as those buyers are trapped at the 4-4. That's what we're looking for. Remember, manage risk, make sure that the risk is all carefully managed and you're okay with a losing trade, and the stops will be just underneath these buyers here, and they're just underneath that candle as the emergency stop area if we get it. So just to see how we do, got another 4 minutes. I'm going to hang around to see the 4 minutes to see if we get this set up, and then I'll be back for the open. But just remember, at the open, we've got Powell speaking as well, and Bailey, and Lagarde, and Ueda. So if that isn't enough to keep you busy, then I don't know what is. Okay, so just coming into the open, and you can see just got that. So I'm just going to move. I'm going to move that position I'm in to break even just for the open, and see what we can get, if anything, out of it. We have got buyers trapping those sellers, got moved in. I'm up at a value area, so it's 50-50 where it goes. Oh yeah, okay, here we go. So coming into the open, yeah, the cat, I think, I'm not sure where the annotations have come from. Yeah, maybe the cat was jumping on when I was around. That's, oh dear, let me have a look. Right, that's it. Try again. Okay, so we're only up as far as that value area, so it was okay, sort of an okay area to buy in. And let's see if we can get a bit of a bump from this open. Okay, here we go. Here's the open. See if we get above those sellers, that could give us a, here we go. Okay, let's see. Okay, we're hitting this area, trying to push up. Okay, I'm out on two of my other accounts. Just took that. Okay, leave that as a profit. Let's see if I can get a bit higher on this one. I'm probably going to bring this, just trail this up underneath the opening candle. Right, so I'm just trailing up underneath the opening candle. Let's see how far we do here. Obviously, if I can trap these sellers, then that's the ideal. Yeah, Brett, the heat is a little bit better today. It's still very, very hot. It was really bad yesterday here in the UK. It's a bit better today. How's the heat with you, Brett? I know Paris is struggling today, and poor Greece, Konstantinos, with those fires again. And Turkey's got wildfires as well. Okay. Okay, so we, oh, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So we're hitting this point of control. So that's kind of an obvious area to potentially take some profit. So I was going to look at this carefully. Yeah, I think I'm going to take profit on this position if I can hit up to the 6240.
Sound check across all channels. Sound check across all channels.
That just seems sensible if I can get up there.
And folks, just to point out, this event hasn't started at Sintra just yet. The Sintra calendar itself did signal it would start around about this time, but we've not seen anything just yet. On the lookout, of course, and there's not been any text releases.
Okay, so we got Powell speaking shortly, so that adds a little bit of risk to it. Let's just see how we're doing on the minute. Okay, finding some buyers off that VWAP. I think I'm probably going to take that off. If I can get a little bit higher out of it. Okay.
And folks, just to point out, this stream for the ECB Sintra conference has begun. Okay, as my colleague just pointed out, this busy period we're entering at the moment, so we're going to try and keep it as salient over the squawk as possible. 10 minutes time, we get the S&P Global final manufacturing PMI from the US. Top of the hour, we'll be getting ISM manufacturing, JOLTS job openings. You can get briefings for both in our daily notes. And of course, we are expecting this panel with Powell, Lagarde, Bailey, Ueda, and Ree to begin very shortly.
Okay, you've got buyers trapping those sellers. You can see if I can get a little bit of a bounce back up here. Maybe make my way up to that VWAP. We're listening out for Powell, so just watch out for that. Okay.
For the Brazilian FX watchers, note the Solicitor General says government will be filing a lawsuit with Supreme Court challenging Congress's move to overturn the IOF tax hike.
Okay, want to take profit against the VWAP?
ECB President Lagarde notes inflation is at 2% now. That is the target.
All right, I'm just going to take that off for the sake of a few points, right? No, I don't want to have that bouncing around there.
Lagarde says it's not mission accomplished, but target reached. So Lagarde, we're at inflation target. It's not mission accomplished.
Okay, so let's reset.
We are now through that disinflationary process, Lagarde says.
Oh, you're very welcome, Ryan. You're very welcome.
Once again, notes the uncertainty that's faced.
What I'm noticing is like when, so in this, see this scenario here. Oh, nice one, Ryan. Well done. Nice, very nice. What I'm noticing
Lagarde says we need to remain extremely vigilant on inflation.
Right, folks, there's going to be a lot of headlines. I'll just bear in mind, but what I'm noticing is when you get buyers or sellers trapped, if you look,
ECB is in a very good position
for the next obvious support area, that can be a superior entry. So for instance here, when you had these sellers trap these buyers, right, the next obvious entry was the standard deviation, and stops can be put above the VWAP. Now I just got missed out of that short, and I took another one as the delta was moving lower. But
Powell economy in pretty good position.
But if you look here, the buyers, right, trap sellers here. Now you could have gone with a standard deviation.
Has come down close to target.
But because the delta was negative, I wanted to go on like an even superior entry.
Healthy overall. Powell says if we ignore tariffs, inflation behaving as expected and hoped.
Okay, that's good. Right, that's good for stocks. What Powell's saying, and then that drops lower into the value area.
Haven't seen much of the tariff impact just yet, and we didn't expect to. We expect higher readings over summer.
Okay. So what I'm just sort of conscious of is you've got that support area, but we're now into that point of control. So ideally you want to get up above to go higher. So we'll see.